Hey everyone, Ridden here, and thank you for coming. And today, we're going to be taking a deeper look at episode 3 of season 1 of Marvel Studios' The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Welcome back everyone, and as you can imagine, I am completely psyched over what went down in this week's episode. As I said last week, I was really looking forward to the reunion of Zemo and Bucky, and this episode didn't disappoint in slamming the two back together again. For the second week in a row, the show opened with John Walker, this time following an infomercial for the Global Repatriation Council, or GRC. As he and Hoskins pull up on the hideout we saw the Flag Smashers use last week, where, of course, they no longer are. This scene was key as we begin to see a bit of the anger and darker side John Walker has internally, which plays right along with his comic counterpart. I really thought he was going to decapitate the guy with the shield after he spit on him.
Do you know who I am?
And even later on in the episode, while talking to Battlestar, we begin to see the slow turn to the let's get it done regardless of what it takes mindset. We know we'll eventually take hold of his Captain America persona if the show is in fact going to take his character in that direction. So Bucky and Sam have arrived in Germany to speak with Zemo, but only Bucky goes in to talk to him, as he believes the likelihood of them getting what they came for will be better that way, considering that he and Zemo have a shared history and hatred, or at least that's what he tells Sam in the moment. I like that as soon as Bucky walks in, Zemo starts using the trigger words to get in his head, which he already knows won't work, but he says it was just to see how the new Bucky would react. It was around this point that I started to piece together one of the reasons we haven't seen much Zemo in the trailers, as it would have been a plot giveaway if we saw him in too many scenes with Bucky and Sam. While Zemo did horrific things, his character in the MCU thus far was always played very neutral. As in, yeah, he's a bad guy, but with very understandable motivations. He just wants revenge for what he's lost. And when he apologizes to Bucky, that whole arc sort of came full circle.
For what it's worth, I'm sorry. It was never personal. You were simply a means to a necessary end.
Turns out that Bucky had been planning to break Zemo out the entire time, as we later see when he and Sam arrive at an undisclosed location and Zemo trots on in after Bucky finishes explaining his very elaborate hypothetical prison break situation to Sam. This was easily my favorite part of the episode. The way they timed it and played it was perfect, because I really didn't know what was happening until it was. Bucky somehow managed to slip Zemo an access card in his Machiavelli book, while also doing an impressive amount of research on the inward happenings of this facility. Back at Zemo's garage, we see the budding of our newfound trio's plans together, as Zemo details a bit of his backstory, revealing that prior to the events of Age of Ultron, he was already in the Hydra hunting game. And during his exposition, we get this cool scene of him seeing his mask for the first time on screen, as he takes a moment to gaze at it before packing it as well. So Zemo joining Bucky and Sam's quest to put an end to the new rise of the Super Soldier program makes complete logical sense, as he says he's done it before and he has no plans of leaving his work unfinished. We got several gems in this episode, including the in-air scenes between the three, as Zemo picks with Bucky about his list, as well as indicting superpowered individuals viewed as icons. This was a masterclass in levity and balance in filmmaking, as we transition seamlessly from the seriousness of Bucky nearly choking Zemo out to the comedic genius of Anthony Mackie bringing up Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man as a song he suggested to Cap, who wrote it in his book he had when he first came out of the ice, which is now confirmed to be the book in Bucky's possession.
Captures the African American experience.
He's out of line, but he's right. It's great. Everybody loves Marvin Gaye.
I like Marvin Gaye.
Steve adored Marvin Gaye.
So in terms of passing things down, Cap left the shield to Sam and the book to Bucky. This leads me to wonder if we will see more made of these transactions as the season progresses. And in what seemed like a very timely Easter egg on the heels of the release of Godzilla vs. Kong this week, Sam mentioned Skull Island when asking the pair about the history and rundown of Madripoor. Although not the one inhabited by Kong, in the Marvel lore, Skull Island is home to Kazar, which is essentially Marvel's take on Tarzan, or any other similarly referenced Jungle Man character. Madripoor itself is a huge X-Men Easter egg, as in the comics, most of what takes place there falls in their realm and in their stories. In the comics, Madripoor is an island in the Southeast Asian region, southwest of Singapore, divided between Low Town and High Town, with the obvious wealth gap existing between the two based off the obvious names. It was the location of storylines featuring the likes of Wolverine, the X-Men, and Khan. In the show, it was seen Madripoor is under the reign of the Power Broker, different from that of the comics, where his longtime ruler was Viper, who interestingly enough we've seen represented before in live action in the Wolverine. The show does a fantastic job of really enveloping the viewer into the underworld of the city as we see the trio arrive and be ushered in via armed escort, under the threat of death if they slip and break character. As Zemo is in full form as himself, Bucky returns to the role of Winter Soldier, and Sam must be Conrad Mack, the Smiling Tiger. This is another X-Men Easter egg, as Smiling Tiger in the comics was a member of a group known as the Folding Circle, and even once successfully stole the Avengers Quinjet and crashed it in Madripoor, where along with his companions, they became major players in the underworld of crime. The bar scene leading to the trio eventually meeting Selby, another character from the comics, was also great. I know a lot of fans have been complaining about the MCU seemingly nerfing Bucky and his abilities as of late, so this was an awesome way of letting everyone know he can still wreck shop when needed. In the comics, Selby was a mutant with the ability to intuitively understand binary language, so we don't see a one-to-one translation here on the screen, but it does seem as if the MCU's take on the character is meant to be a broker of information. And just as the character begins to grow on us, she's killed, a death which is pinned on our trio, which then leads to a pretty awesome escape attempt.
This is not good.
Which leaves us to wonder who the sniper was who shot Selby and why they decided this course of action was the way to go in blaming our guys. Ultimately, this leads us to the return of Sharon Carter, who I have personally really been looking forward to seeing.
Drop it, Zemo.
Sharon?
And it also made sense of the moment early in the episode where Sam said they didn't have any friends in Hightown. As we find out, that's actually where Sharon has been staying.
Let me guess, we don't have any friends in Hightown.
I have a place in Hightown. You should be safe there for a while.
In another deep-rooted comics Easter egg, the episode also takes us into the presence of Dr. Wilfred Nagel, also known as Dr. Joseph Reinstein in the comics. He worked on Project Rebirth behind Dr. Erskine, which was the experiment that created Captain America during World War II. And when Erskine died, he was then tasked with recreating the super soldier serum, hence leading to the rounding up of 300 African American soldiers, which we discussed in last week's review, as Isaiah Bradley was the only survivor. Here it would seem the MCU uses Nagel in the same regard, as when he mentions the lone blood sample he used to isolate and create the new serum, he's clearly talking about Isaiah. When Zemo killed him, I can't say that I was shocked. I do applaud the showrunners for keeping the Baron true to his nature, as the entire time Nagel was talking, I was wondering to myself, isn't this another loose end on the journey Zemo said he wouldn't leave unfinished? In addressing the looming presence and growing significance of the Power Broker in the show, I think this episode did a good job of further increasing the perceived power and sway of the character who we've yet to see. I've seen several theories as to who the Power Broker could possibly be, ranging from Thunderbolt Ross, Arnim Zola, John Walker himself, and even Sharon. I don't personally have a theory as of yet, but I am very intrigued as to how the storyline will play out along with that of the Flag Smashers. As Carly later says in the episode, it would seem now the Power Broker needs Carly and the other enhanced individuals, as Nagel is now dead and his lab has been blown to bits. This episode didn't see much of the Flag Smashers really, but the scenes we did see provided much more depth to their individual characters, as in the scene with Carly by the side of a dying Danya Madani, and later showed an even darker side to Carly as she blows the building up with people still in it that they're stealing supplies from.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
As the episode ended, I must honestly say again, I wasn't expecting what we got next. When Bucky decided to hang back, I didn't really have much of an idea of what could be going on with him, but when he picked up the first Kimoyo bead, I was just about skyrocketing into the atmosphere from my sofa. The way they drew out our anticipation was awesome, and when he turned around to Ayo standing in the alley in front of him, it was as perfect a reveal as you can get.
I was wondering when you were gonna show up.
Didn't go Zemo.
In the comics, as well as on the screen, Ayo has always been portrayed as a mighty warrior and someone to be revered. And I can't wait to see the rest of the interaction between her and Bucky, as I'm sure he'll have to explain to her why he's trotting around with Zemo like he isn't the person who murdered King T'Chaka. Her standoff with Black Widow in Captain America Civil War is at the top of my list of movie scenes I wish had extended deleted scenes that were later released.
Move, or you will be moved.
Going forward, I am anticipating that maybe we'll see her as a recurring character for the rest of the series. Unfortunately, I don't imagine we'll be lucky enough for her to provide any info on the current happenings in Wakanda. This week's episode did a fantastic job of furthering the plot and the development of our characters while also keeping us entertained, as well as seamlessly handling the injection of Zemo into our main focus crew without upsetting the chemistry and flow of the show. I love the additive of him being rich the whole time and us having not known. I can honestly say I really wasn't expecting the team up we seem to be riding with into episode 4, and I'm very interested to see where the show takes us next. The sudden inclusion of the world of Wakanda now also raises the bar as to where my excitement level can go. And although in the moment I was a bit sad considering that maybe we would have gotten T'Challa instead of Ayo had the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman not taken place, the moment was still awesome in light of the newly announced Wakanda series helmed by Ryan Coogler, which will be making its way to Disney Plus in the coming years. I will of course be continuing to cover this show here weekly on my channel, and if you feel so inclined, I would love to have you back here next week to continue to cover it with us. Again, guys, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell for notifications if you've enjoyed our content here tonight. Jump down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And while you're at it, be sure to check out some of the other content here on the channel. All of the necessary links are listed here below for you to keep up with the coming content and shareables. Please be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. Or just the one you use most frequently. We are slowly but surely building a community here, and I would personally love for you to be a part of that. And last but not least, we have a merch store. So whether you see something you like or just simply want to support the channel, head on over to our shop and grab something, or grab everything. But again, thank you so much, guys and gals, for visiting here with us today. I really appreciate each and every viewing minute of your time you've given us. There's loads of content we'll be sending your way, so I'll be seeing you. But for now, be blessed. And it was written.
Across the nighttime, the city sleep inside. Yeah, hear her voice, shake my window, sweet seducing.